Welcome everybody to Greyhound Star Zoom. We're looking at another candidate, a second candidate for the forthcoming GBGB practitioner elections. Jayne Conway, I've known for quite a while. I'm sure quite a few of you have seen her around. Good evening, Jayne. A little bit about your background, if you don't mind.
Well, as I've got into greyhound racing by accident, really. I've always enjoyed going to the dogs, but it was one of those things that you could enjoy, but there didn't seem to be any information anywhere about how to own a racing dog. There just wasn't anything, which I think is something that a lot of the tracks fall down on, that there should be that there. And it was when I moved from Swindon down to Gosport, and it wasn't very far from Portsmouth, that I started going to Portsmouth, decided that I didn't know how to own a racing dog, but I could work out how to get a retired one. And the branch of the Retired Greyhound Trust was run by Liz Redpath, who some people will remember as a trainer. And her mother, of course, was one of the founders of the RGT. And we got a retired dog, and almost at the same time decided to buy a racing dog. And it was a dream come true to spend a few £100 on this little grader pup, and to watch a race around Portsmouth, which you probably remember as it was a bit down at heel, Portsmouth. But I used to feel like the Aga Khan watching that little dog run around. And then we got another one, and we just loved it. I loved it. And then, of course, before too long, Portsmouth closed. And it would have made sense then to just not have racing dogs, because there wasn't any track really that close except for Poole. But we persevered with it, and it went on, and then we got another dog, and then another dog. And like a lot of people, you get another dog, and then you have a litter, and then you get another dog, and so it goes on until racing becomes an integral part of you. It becomes something that is really quite all-consuming. Well, it is for me.
Very much so. Now, am I right? I'm pretty sure that were you originally involved in the ambassador scheme? Would that be right? Yeah,
the ambassador scheme. I don't want to speak out of turn, and I don't want to speak for other ambassadors, because I haven't spoken to the other ambassadors on this, but it just felt like a little bit of a missed opportunity. That there was such a vast wealth of experience and knowledge and information in those ambassadors, and it didn't seem to be being properly exploited by the GBGB, which I think was a missed opportunity.
I would guess that's kind of the direction that we're going with where the conversation is going to go. I mean, what kind of opportunity are you talking about? What kind of experience and expertise are we dealing with? Well,
there was Billy Boyle, is it Billy Boyle, who had an awful lot of experience around the gambling side of it, which a lot of us aren't that interested in. I'm not that interested in it. There was Linda Bonner, who's an OBE, for heaven's sake. Kim Sanzoni, who's got a wealth of experience in stadium promotion. Me as an owner, and other people that just, it didn't seem to be being used. All that experience and expertise just didn't seem to be being used. But I don't want to sit here and criticise the ambassador scheme.
No. The reason that I brought it up was that obviously you've dealt with GBGB, and it sounds as though it didn't go quite as well as you would have hoped it would have done, or the opportunities weren't taken. So that then would lead me on naturally to say to you, well, why go down this route? Clearly there must be something involved with GBGB that suggests it is worth pursuing. I mean, how do you view them as an organisation?
Oh, that's a big question. The GBGB isn't a perfect organisation. I don't believe that the perfect organisation exists. However, there are things that I believe the GBGB have done extremely well. I think they've tackled the welfare issue very, very well indeed. And that was something that was in desperate need of addressing. I had a discussion, should we say, several years ago with somebody who was on the board of the GBGB, and I told him that we were being run ragged on social media by very, I'm not quite sure well organized is the right word, but they were very intuitive in how to get the public on their side and against racing. And the response I got was, they don't know what they're talking about and nobody takes any notice of them. And I said, you're wrong. And sure enough, we finished up badly on the back foot with it on social media. And it's taken a long time to try to turn that round. And actually, I think that one of the big things on social media to turn that round is the Facebook page, Your Greyhound's History. The success of that page has been quite breathtaking. It's blown so many myths open, and allowed people who genuinely believed that their dogs had been mistreated in some way. It's allowed them to find out that their dogs haven't been mistreated, that they were looked after, that they were cared for, and in a lot of cases very much loved before they became retired dogs. So I think the GBGB has dealt with welfare extremely well. The publicity around it, I think, is quite clunky. But the actual mechanics of it, how it works with the bond scheme and the injury recovery scheme, publishing the stats, I think is excellent, absolutely excellent. There's other stuff where I am left scratching my head a little bit over it, but I'm reluctant to criticize the GBGB because that's possibly stuff that I just don't know about. And I think going into it saying, well, I think the GBGB is rubbish because of A, B, and C. It could be the A, B, and C I just don't know about.
Now, in view of what you found, having read through your address of the things that you would like to put forward as a sort of part of your manifesto, I seem to recall that you were quite keen to get a much more sort of local involvement amongst owners at the various tracks. Would that be right? That's right.
That's right. I mean, one of the things that I always got a little frustrated with in the past was the owners' reps would go into it with their manifesto, with their idea, but nobody ever asked me. Nobody ever asked me what I thought as an owner. It seemed to be, this is what we're going to have, and we're not going to change from that. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, that owners have to be asked, and they have to be asked, I think, on a regular basis what they want, because we tend to get, I think, overawed by the big names, by the public face of it all, and they forget the little owner. Like me, I did have 4 dogs, but one was disqualified for deliberate interference, so now I'm down to 3. But people, I've only got 3. Some people have only got 1. Some people have got 1 dog between 2 people, and they're not being asked, but actually they are the backbone of this industry. People like ordinary little owners are the backbone of this industry. And we are the ones that try to get to the tracks as regularly as possible to watch our dogs run. And these dogs, and I've used this description before, they're a joy to watch and a privilege to own. And I believe that's the case whether you have an A8 dog or whether you have an open class dog. They are still a joy to watch and a privilege to own. And I think we need to pay attention to what all of us want, and all of us need to keep us interested, and what other potential owners need to attract them to the industry. Because at the moment there's not an awful lot that's terribly attractive to new owners, and I've got to be honest there, that the tracks tend to shy away from being open at the weekends, perhaps because they don't get the streaming deal. But I think there needs to be some sort of investment in getting people in through the weekend, at the weekend, even if they don't have a streaming deal. I think the expression is a sprat to catch a mackerel. That if you can get people in through the door and taking a real pleasure in watching these dogs run, then they might feel more attracted to own one. And then you start a sort of hopefully a momentum. You gain a momentum in getting people more involved in the sport and re-attracting people who perhaps left.
I guess a cynic might say that that's an aspiration. Do you think, as far as the tracks are concerned, it's a reality? Because at the end of the day, however way we view it, ownership is basically just, I don't know, reducing the costs for the tracks. I mean, it's the only reason it exists in the first place.
I once was told by one of the owners of a track that the whole point of it was maximising profit, which was an expression that I found quite disappointing, because it's about, you don't maximise profit by killing off what brings that profit in. If you're going to make a profit, you need the dogs, and you need people to own the dogs. And if you don't have the people to own the dogs, if you just want them to be trainer-owned dogs, then I think the whole industry needs to prepare itself for a massive welfare problem. Because so many owners, like me, put our own time and effort and money into making sure the dogs have secure futures. I mean, at the moment, I suppose I'm running it really, but I don't do it on my own. A small rehoming kennel that's attached to the racing kennel, where I'm a kennel hand and where my dogs are. Would I do that if I didn't have involvement as an owner? I might do it for a time, but I don't think I would do it long term. You know, the industry needs people to own the dogs, and not to assume that it'll all be okay with trainer-owned dogs. You know, part of the other problem with trainer-owned dogs is, as trainers leave, they're not going to be that easy to replace. Land and property is very, very expensive in the UK. So for a new trainer, where are they going to get the kennel from? Where are they going to get the land from? This is not cheap. You know, you might have a trainer to start off with, to start off from scratch without help. He might need a budget of £1 million. He or she might need a budget of £1 million. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, certainly if we follow the American situation, and I've been to America, I've met some really fabulous people in America.
Yeah.
I've also met some who weren't, and that they basically just saw greyhounds as a way to make money, and America didn't embrace welfare until it had to. I've always found UK racing to be very different to that. Do you feel that we have, you know, I know you have this vision of sort of an owner's rep at every track. Do you think you will get that level of support? Because in my view, I found an awful lot of tracks, a great deal of lethargy. People, they don't all have your enthusiasm for getting involved and for wanting to put hard yards in.
I know they don't. But and okay, you know, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. But if you put that offer on the table at the tracks to all the owners at the tracks, and nobody wants to take it up, then there's not really much you can do. What you can do is make people, make people see that it would probably be worthwhile to do it, that it would probably benefit them as owners and other owners and the track to do that. But there has to be some way of demonstrating that there is a benefit to do that.
Yeah, I mean, would you know personally of people at, I don't know, half a dozen tracks even at this stage who you would feel that would be willing and able to put in the time and effort to make this kind of thing work?
I know a few, and they know a few. I think it's possible. I think it's possible. It's not going to be an easy task. I'm not pretending it's going to be easy, but I think it's possible.
Okay, so putting it all together, you see your role as basically the conduit for
That's right.
all these people to come to you, and you would basically present them to the board. Would that be an accurate description?
I think come to me is a perhaps no. That's not the way. That's not the way I see it. I don't see it as them coming to me like, you know, I am the one. I am the puppet master. I don't see it like that. I see people coming together, and the people that come together decide what goes to the board, and I just take it for them and present it in a palatable way.
Okay, so when you get to the board, on what basis do you drive home your argument, drive home your arguments are not too strong a word, your view, your passion? Because ultimately, as we found out through previous owners reps, they feel completely powerless once they get into the board meeting. They most of them, including Paul Carpenter, feel as though it was a kind of a pointless exercise. Are you confident that you could turn that over? I
think we need to actually thank Paul Carpenter for giving the GBGB perhaps not a bloody nose, perhaps a bloody nose. Well, I don't know, perhaps he did give them a bloody nose, but I think he pulled people up short on the GBGB with his sudden resignation, his sudden and very quick resignation, and what he said about the GBGB. I think he did pull some of the board members up quite short on that. And I'm hoping that the next person, even if it's not me, is able to build on that perhaps thoughtfulness that Paul may have injected into the board. Okay, and obviously I'm trying to gauge this as fairly as I can between everybody. Final thoughts? If I said to you, what's your last message or your abiding message to anybody that might be considering voting for you, what would it be? It would be my ambition. I say it in my election address, that we need to put principles ahead of personalities. We can't go into this saying, you know, I am this, I am that, I am the other, because that way is going in with an attitude of belligerence and confrontation, which, you know, I don't think is helpful. I don't think it's ever helpful to do that. I think you need to be able to discuss something and discuss something reasonably. And that's what I would hope would happen, whoever is elected, whether it's me. I'm confident I can do that. Whether I succeed is a different matter, but what I can do is give it my best shot. I would always give it my best shot. And sometimes I've surprised myself in the past. But I would hope that whoever wins this, whether it's me or any of the others, that the greyhound racing gets behind them. One thing that I will say, I did notice that somebody on a greyhound forum, I won't mention, created an account in my name. And somebody sent me a screenshot of it. I was scratching my head. My grammar's a lot better than that. But it finished up with saying that I got on really well with Mark Bird, and he encouraged me to stand. Now, I will just say at this point, when I told Mark Bird I was standing, encouragement wasn't what I would have described his response. It wasn't encouraging. He wasn't encouraging me.
Well, you're very clearly a threat. So nobody's ever gone to that length to set up a bogus account. I really hope they don't. Oh, it was as I say, my grammar and punctuation is a lot better than that. That's something to bear in mind when we're checking out any future postings that you may make.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Jayne, thank you for joining me, and best
Thank
of
you,
luck
Lloyd.
in the vote.
Thank you very much.